Welcome into Film Tank, the weekly podcast that covers both new and classic cinema. On this episode of Film Tank, we discuss the Michael Mann film Collateral, starring Tom Cruise and Jamie Foxx. If you would like to get in touch with Film Tank, you can always email us at filmtankshow@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Film Tank Show. And you can listen to all of our episodes on our website, filmtankshow.com, or on iTunes. And now, here are your hosts, Nick Cheney, Toussaint Egan, and myself, Alex Diekman. Hello there again, everybody! Welcome in to episode 187 of Film Tank. I am Alex Diekman, along with Nick Cheney.
Hey.
And Toussaint Egan.
Hey.
Hi. Everyone's in a great mood. This is wonderful.
Well, we just watched a slightly downer of a movie.
Yes.
Slightly.
Yes, the 2007 Sidney Lumet film, Before the Devil Knows You're Dead.
Yep.
Yeah. It was good, but it was quite harrowing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quite heroin?
Harrowing.
Heroin?
Harrowing.
Heroin.
Harrowing. Harrowing.
I don't know if we're ever going to talk about that film someday, and we definitely don't need to talk about it in depth or anything like that.
Right.
I will say, although I did very much enjoy the film, the idea of like going back to like different time periods and different points of view, even if it's only a few days, I thought was a little bit stupid.
It was okay.
I think we could have figured it out as a viewer without having to have the editing and going back into that person's perspective.
Yeah, the story doesn't really benefit for that kind of structure, I think. I think it's just, it's okay. I'm sorry that...
Clearly Nick is disagreeing with us.
I'm sorry, that's okay. But you know what, Nick? We could save this for an episode in the future and return to this film, because that's not the film we're talking about this week, are we?
As I like how Toussaint is now the czar of only talking about what we are talking about on this podcast, and we cannot deviate at all.
Want to hear something funny? This is some Film Tank lore.
Oh, no.
I was going through a lot of old photos I have on my computer of just friends and whatnot, events, whatever.
And you didn't find any of us.
Nope.
Okay.
Ha 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 ha.
What the fuck?
No, but I found the 4 photos that I randomly took of all 4 of us. By all 4, I'm also referring to our long-lost co-host, Kenny Marcellus.
Got lost at sea.
R.I.P. And that's Rest in Podcast. That's not... I didn't mean he died. And I found the original 4 photos that I took of myself, Alex, Toussaint, and Kenny, which I want to say maybe during our first episode, if not during our second, or something like that. And so here's the greatest part. I took everybody's photo while we were recording, okay? So it's not like they were kind of candid and whatnot. And literally, Kenny, Alex, and myself, in each of our individual photos are like... either talking or look at whatever, and Toussaint is on his goddamn fucking cell phone.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
It made me chuckle.
I remember that, yeah.
It was pretty great.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
yeah.
I think I had them on the website at one point. They might still be there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think they're on our Instagram page, too,
okay,
if you want to go try to find them.
Yeah,
Kenny didn't have a beard at that time, did he?
Nope.
No, he didn't. Well,
it may have just been like a small...
I was gonna say, I
think
he had some, but not
he
like
had short hair, and
not like what he does
small...
right now.
Yeah,
he had a facial hair, but he didn't have a beard.
He has like long hair and a full beard.
Well, he's been lost at sea, so that happens.
Oh boy,
only to me.
Oh. Anyway.
So, anyways, we are not just talking about Before the Devil Knows You're Dead. We are going to be talking shortly about the Michael Mann film Collateral. Before we get to that, this morning, today is April 3rd of 2019, the first trailer came out for the Joker film that is being released by DC, directed by Todd Phillips and starring Joaquin Phoenix. And I don't really know if saying that this is a film that people have been anticipating would be accurate, because I think this is such a weird project that a lot of people who are in the, cinephile range really had no idea what to think about this. But now that the footage is out and the tone has somewhat been set, and we've seen exactly what at least it would appear that Todd Phillips is going to deliver on screen, people are basically throwing rose petals at this film already. And I'm interested, and I know our guest many times, Brian, posed the question to us about what we all thought about it and what we were looking forward to about it, and thought it would be a good thing to talk about, because this is such an interesting thing where we all know what the Joker is, we all know what that character is, and the Joker has also been such a huge success in cinema when it comes to DC, specifically to Batman films, minus that Suicide Squad business with Jared Leto. That this is such a weird place where you have no idea what a film is going to be, but you know everything about the character, at least what you preconceived about the character, and then we get delivered today, and it is just totally unique, totally different from what I would say anyone's seen previously, at least I would say
on the screen.
On screen,
yeah.
Well, and live action too, because this did actually remind me a lot of some of the parts of The Killing Joke.
Yeah, I was going to say that this is definitely like the whole idea of him being like a failed comedian or just like a working class dude who just eventually has one bad day or subsequent bad days that just result in him like cracking up his psychosis. Like that's from Alan Moore's The Killing Joke. That's pretty much one of the most popular, if not like unofficially the official origin story for the Joker, as people usually recognize that as.
But even in that, I was going to say,
Yeah.
story, he famously also, doesn't he say that...
He has, like, if I'm going to have a pass, I'd rather have it be multiple choice.
Right.
So he could
even
be lying.
in that,
Right.
the most, I would say, I'm with you in that, that's
Right.
the most famous. It's also the one that acknowledges that...
The mutability of these characters. Like,
Yeah.
when Alex is talking about how we already know who these characters are, we know what is going to be the ultimate conclusion of them becoming those characters, but we just don't know we don't know the exact pathway that this particular iteration is going to go through.
But we know the character traits. We
know the character traits.
We know what the Joker's about.
But we know what the Joker's about, but we don't know how this Joker gets from like point A and point B to finally point C, right? And when you're talking about that, it reminds me of that show Gotham, which I've only seen like a couple of episodes of, and
Nick has become a fan over the years.
Yeah.
and I've heard that it's pretty nonsensical at some points, and
That's
I've
when it gets good.
I've partially followed the story about how that show's iteration of the Joker comes about, which is just absolutely fucking bonkers.
Well, it's bonkers, and it was also not by choice in the sense that
right,
they
I
knew
know.
they had to, but they also literally did not have the rights to
Right.
say the word Joker.
Yeah, they had to wait.
So they could. Do they
have the rights to the other villains?
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't know what it was. I
Huh.
can't remember. But like basically, I don't know if it's DC or Warner Brothers, but Joker is too hot of a whatever that unless they sign off on it being a presentation of, they can't, and they weren't going to give it.
That was kind
permission.
of the deal with when the Justice League or Justice League Unlimited series was going out. Like, they couldn't acknowledge Robin for some reason because they wanted to partition things off, or even when the Teen Titans show was like going on, for whatever reason, they didn't want people to confuse the continuity of these different properties, even though they were airing at the same time.
Yeah.
And so they sort of hearkened to the fact that Robin was mentored by somebody who we know is Batman, but they never say.
Yeah.
They just say is like, you know, like who knows? Maybe someday you'll grow to think of me as a father. It's like I already have a father, and then bats fly up, and you know who the fuck it is, right? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
They're laying that on pretty thick.
Yeah, but like they can't say it. They can't.
Yeah.
Well, so since you're on the topic, I've seen people's rankings of top villains ever. Is Joker unanimously thought of as the top comic book villain of all time?
Comic book?
Yeah.
I mean, if we're talking about American comic books, I mean,
It sounds about right.
probably the most iconic villain in
I was going to
comic
say,
book.
if not the most represented,
Yeah,
that's kind of a big thing.
the most represented, the most oversaturated, I would say. It's I think the whole
Now,
like,
would that be true if it were not for Tim Burton's Batman?
I think that it would still be true in the sense that I think that the Joker was already well established to be.
Yeah, I mean, the Killing Joke came out in the 80s.
Yeah, the Batman's like primary antagonist, like the Killing Joke and the Dark Knight Returns had already come out before Batman. The Tim Burton film came out, and those two comics, I think,
but
not only formed like that canon, but also the texture of that film. But I know
I'm all encompassing here.
Right.
So,
I know.
Yeah.
I think that it is the Joker is definitely probably the most iconic like American like comic villain.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of a single instance that would compete. So
Yeah. So I've kind of teed up everything, but the actual trailer, and we can probably debate this if we wanted to, but my thought about the trailer is it was fantastic. It brought a totally different tone than we've seen in even the good DC films. It looks like a absolutely horrifying movie in terms of not scary, but also terrifying. And at the same time, you have a horrifically good performance at the center of all this, which, again, you don't generally see in these kind of films. So, that being said,
even
2-minute trailer, and DC's put out really good trailers for shitty films already, so they've got a bad track record with that. So,
I'm looking forward to the film itself because I think that the trailer looks good. I'm really interested in Zazie Beetz' character as sort of the love interest for this iteration of the Joker, and just seeing like where that goes. I don't think that it's going to end up with her becoming like Harley Quinn or any shit like that because I just don't see that happening. But I'm just looking forward to seeing how that relationship complicates his evolution into this character, and just like I think that she's a great actress, and I'm looking forward to seeing her performance in that. I'm looking forward to the film. I'm not looking forward to the sort of marketing and promotion and culture surrounding the film, just because I feel like at least within like comic book circles, the Joker, especially when it starts with like Heath Ledger's iteration of the Joker, I'm willing to venture to say that the Joker was to nihilistic shitlords like the proto Rick Sanchez before like Rick and Morty came out. Like it was just like, oh my god, it's like everything he's saying is just truth to power. It's like the world's really.
I'm not saying I don't understand what you're saying, but
Yeah.
you have to think that, at least in my opinion, the reason why the whole Rick Sanchez thing is because he still has these sentimental moments of like, oh, Morty.
People find a way to be sentimental to the Joker for some reason. People find a reason to be sentimental to fucking Charles Manson.
Okay, and I'm not saying that they literally do it. I'm talking. It's just like I don't know. It's just
I know it's not a one-to-one, but I'm saying that people take quotes from these both characters and be like, "Oh man, this is like the animating ethos of my fucking life."
See, I think of it more as one-to-one of like the Joker to Tyler Durden, which is less that they care about him as a person, and more of just like
what he represents.
Yeah. Because I think that people think Rick and Morty like that. Rick is like actually a good person deep down inside.
Yeah.
I mean, the crazy people that watch the show and whatnot.
Yeah. I think that Tyler Durden is probably a better example for that. Yeah, but I just like I find in either case I find it kind of insufferable. I'm not looking forward to that sort of cultural conversation. I was like, oh my God, is this the darkest version of the Joker? Oh my God, he's so complicated. He laughs and then he shoots people. Oh my God, you've never seen that before. I don't give a fuck. It's going to be a good movie, okay? Whatever.
Yeah. I thought the trailer looked pretty good, but also to what end, I'm not entirely sure. Like, and I know that sounds maybe too early to even really talk about that, but
Right.
I'm not trying to give an answer so much as say, like, just because it was entertaining for the 2 minutes and whatnot, what are we going to say in this movie that we haven't already said? Just, you can't just turn the lighting, to a different filter and have a caliber actor come in and expect it to be all that much different.
Well, and the shot that everybody not loved but remembered from the Suicide Squad trailer regarding the Joker was just of him laughing with all the knives pointed at him as the camera's panning away. In the trailer, you're intrigued by why would that happen, and then it shows up in the film, and it's
just
exactly
because.
that.
It's just because it was a good shot, and there was no reason for that. It was
Right.
just
It
because.
takes place in the middle of a boring scene. And
I'm not saying that Todd Phillips would do that, and I think DC's made it to the point where they're not going to necessarily make a film like that.
No, I mean,
But
it
at the
looks watchable in a way that Suicide Squad's final product was not,
Right.
in my
No,
opinion.
I don't think you're wrong.
So it's like, on the one hand, I'm glad that it's going to work, but my biggest thing is just kind of, I really need to know, even if I love Joaquin Phoenix, which I do, what am I going to get from this that I haven't gotten from another Joker movie other than a new Joker performance? Like that, it already looks good, but like now that I saw that he can do it, am I that interested in seeing him do it for 100 minutes?
I mean, is what's the goal here? Like, is the goal to establish a great Joker in this DC universe, or is the goal here to retcon the mistake they made with Jared Leto?
The goal is to make money off of a highly recognizable character while also bearing a previous iteration of the character.
Here's
that
the weird
totally
thing about
tanked
this,
that
though.
entire thing.
Here's the weird thing. And Brian brought this up, and he asked if this is going to be rated PG-13 or R. And after watching the trailer, I don't really know how this could not be rated R.
I mean, I would like it if it was rated R, just because if you're going to bring this talent, if you're going to bring these people into this, like, why not just like take it all the way? Just because
I mean, you have
the
people,
Joker,
you have people bringing
the
throwing
Joker
out the
can
names like Taxi Driver and The King of Comedy and
Right.
things like that, and you're gonna
make a
PG-13 movie.
You're gonna make a PG-13 Taxi Driver. I don't give a fuck about that. I absolutely do not give a fuck about that at all, and I'm not gonna. And why should I care? Like, it's
But the other thing is, we've seen the PG-13 Joker film.
Yeah,
and
and it was bad.
No, I mean all the movies the Joker's been in have been PG-13.
I'm sorry, I was thinking about Suicide Squad.
I'm just thinking in general.
Yeah.
For the Killing Joke,
Yeah.
that was rated R.
That was not that good.
No.
The film,
second half.
not the
second half was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the actual comic,
Right.
not the part with Batwoman and Batgirl and other shit like that. Yeah.
That's fine. It wasn't rape.
Oh God. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyways, I was a fan of the trailer, and I thought it looked beautiful. The scene of him running through the tunnel, where you first see the shadow, and then you see him running, with the way the camera is slowly moving, was absolutely fantastic. And the fact that this was directed by Todd Phillips makes me even more intrigued after seeing this trailer, because A, he delivered this kind of footage that could be made into a trailer, and B, I'm very interested to see what he's going to do with humor throughout this film, and I want to know what that looks like. Hopefully it doesn't look like The Hangover 3. But pretty much, yeah. I'm interested, and I already kind of was down to see this movie, but even more so now. And to go off of what Toussaint was saying, I'm interested to see if the reaction to the trailer today, which has been pretty buzzy, I feel like, will at all change the promotional plan. I know we'll really never know, but maybe there won't be some giant, huge campaign. It'll just be a kind of downplayed slow, getting people just to go see what this is in the theater and not, 10,000 commercials the week before being like, go see the Joker. He's fucked up.
I think it's going to be the latter, not the former. I don't think that DC knows how to help themselves after what happened with Suicide Squad. I think you'd think that they would learn their lesson, but I'm more cynical when it comes to Hollywood studios, let alone comic book studios.
This also has a really weird release time for a superhero movie.
Coming out in October.
Coming out in the middle of the dead season.
When is
Because it's horror.
When is the new?
I think that's what they're going for.
When is the new Star Wars coming out?
December.
The week before Christmas.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
As they do.
I was going to say they've got that spot on lockdown. Speaking of big releases, so Avengers Endgame.
Yeah. That's going to come out.
That is going to come out. Very interesting to see what happens. I'm interested because the fact of its 3 hours runtime means that it's going to have less showings, and I am interested if that will at all affect the box office.
I don't think it's going to have less showings.
I don't know how it literally can't.
I think that Disney has these people by the balls, and they're going to just do whatever the fuck they want.
That's fine.
They don't care.
If you have a film that's 3 hours and against that
3 hours and 2 minutes.
I think what Alex is saying is not will people go see it, but how many you can schedule in a day.
Yeah.
So will the total revenue end up suffering because of how many you can squeeze in?
Yeah.
Which I get. I don't know. I think, if anything, it'll still break a record somehow.
Oh, no. I mean, the fact that the first day doubled the first week from Infinity War in terms of pre-buy is that's a pretty big deal, I feel like.
Yeah.
It's kind of went under the radar.
I got to see how my superheroes come back. I got to see how my action figures come back out of the dust,
I got to say,
got to smash them together.
Their promotional breadcrumbs they've been laying for this film have been pretty good, I think. There really hasn't been much. There really hasn't been trailer that seems like it's giving away too much of a storyline.
But man, the Russo brothers sound like idiots when they talk about this movie. The other day they said you're going to want to see Endgame in the theaters because they said, this is the direct quote, that there are a lot of spoilers in the movie.
What?
Because apparently spoilers are now synonymous with things that happen in the movie itself.
I'm so tired. I can't wait until. I was gonna say that I can't wait until the superhero movies are over, but I know that's not gonna happen. So instead, I can't wait until the sun explodes because that's probably gonna happen before these fucking suck.
They'll still find a way.
They'll still find a way to film and show these even in darkness.
We've got to get the asses in the seats.
Yeah, I got to get the asses in the seats.
No one's alive. There's no water. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah. So we're eventually going to do an episode on that, and hopefully it doesn't run for the same length of time as the movie itself because
we'll have to not invite Dan for that episode.
Because God Almighty, I cannot imagine.
Damn.
I can't imagine having
Dan, if you're listening.
that kind of.
No, that's all in good fun to Dan.
Yeah,
I know.
We had really good conversation with Dan, and he actually brings notes to these episodes.
He does.
Yeah.
But at the same time...
Actually, you know what? A lot of our guests do.
Yeah,
Brian does. Sam did the other day.
Yeah.
So, really, it's just us who are shitheads.
Yeah. I mean, I bring notes. I brought notes to us.
So it's just me and you, then. I think it's what Tucson is saying.
I bring notes.
He's pointing to his temple right now. So, he just locks it into his head, and then that's the thing that he's got right there. It's like, yep, he's pointing a little something right there. Anyway, but
podcasting right there.
Yeah, you know what I'm really looking forward to? You know what I'm really looking forward to? I'm looking forward to Under the Silver Lake because I know that's not going to be good. I know it's not going to be good, but you know what? I really enjoyed It Follows, and I'm still willing to go to bat for It Follows because I enjoyed
my movie's going to be a failure at the theater.
I know it's going to be a movie at it's going to be a
It's going
failure.
to be a movie at the theater.
It's going to be a movie at the theater. It's going to be a failure, but you know what? I'm still going to show up for it because I told myself after the enthusiasm that I brought to It Follows that I would watch whatever he came out with afterwards. Whether
and now you're feeling upset about that?
No, I'm not feeling upset about it. I'm just like, I'm remembering for the fact that, outside of the concept itself, I thought that it was an interesting film and that he is capable of at least, if not making a film that speaks to a lot of different gratifications, he actually tapped into something that sort of like hewed into my gratifications personally. Mm-hmm. And I was like, and I'm willing to be, I'm willing to open myself up to the possibility of being surprised about that film. So who knows? Who knows what will come out of it? I don't know. I don't know much about it, but let's see
if that movie actually gets released this year.
Yeah, hopefully.
That and New Mutants. We'll see if both of those come out.
Yeah, New Mutants is not coming out.
Yeah. Most critics who have seen Under the Silver Lake have basically said that when they saw it, that there was nothing wrong. Like no one thought it was a masterpiece.
You were saying that people were kind of confused why it was having so much rework.
Yeah, they're no one thought it was amazing, and yet they're all like, yeah, that seemed like a decent movie. That would definitely be a festival thing that will come out by A24. That would have just went down that trajectory, and then maybe 10 years from now be forgotten. But there was just nothing that they said was that perplexing as to this definitely won't sit right with. I mean, if you're gonna go see the movie based on that trailer, you're expecting a movie that's not gonna add up and whatever. So.
I don't know. I will go see that film, and also I'll rewatch It Follows with you guys later this year, just because I've committed myself to that.
Woohoo.
Unfortunately, I've also somehow committed myself to going to see the new Ari Aster film, Midsummer.
Yeah,
that is going to be the worst 2 hours of my year, probably.
What if you end up loving it?
I don't see it. Now, I'm going to go in with shockingly low expectations, so maybe.
What would you rather watch, an Ari Aster film or a Nicholas Winding Refn film?
I've seen a good film from Nicholas Winding Refn.
Okay.
So the potential's there. He just hasn't recently.
With the Neon Demon?
Yeah, no, that wasn't good.
But that was really good.
That's your opinion. We don't need to go back and rehash this.
More like a fact, but...
You really didn't like his previous film. I have not seen.
Although I've been meaning to rewatch it.
Which one is that?
Only God Forgives.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of people out there that didn't care for that. There's also a lot of people who didn't care for the Neon Demon, so...
Yeah, they're going to go to hell.
Neon Hell?
What's up? Any idea? We have to, go deeper into it. What's he up to? Is he...
Refn?
Yeah.
He's working on a series right now.
Yeah, it's supposed to be doing a espionage series for Amazon Prime.
What's it called?
I forgot what it's called, but it had a decent cast the last time I looked. But yeah, he was supposed to be working on that at least. I don't know. Okay. Well, and also, interestingly enough, he is also working on curating films because he has his own website.
It's called Too Old to Die Young.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
But on his website, if anyone Googles Nicholas Winding Refn, he curates movies every week or every month where he shows 3 films and you can watch them on your browser, and if you can cast it to a device, whatever. And they're handpicked by him, and they're supposed to be obscure exploitation cinema, basically a thing that I would absolutely love, and have guest people, writers contribute essays and such attached to each film, and so he seems like a cool dude.
He would definitely want you to think that.
Why don't you just start the fucking review?
Also, too, really quick before we get to it.
You sure?
Yeah, no. I have not watched the trailer for it yet, but I believe the trailer came out for the new Jim Jarmusch film.
Oh, I haven't watched it either. I forgot.
But I've read that people who like him are really looking forward to this movie.
I'm sure they are. I don't even need to see the trailer but I'll probably watch it after we do this episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, he's back.
Yeah. Is his first film since Patterson?
Yeah.
Okay. That wasn't that long. It was 2.5 years ago?
Yeah, roughly.
Okay.
What a great guy.
Yeah, I'll probably end up going to see that too.
You would actually like this one more than the one you've seen.
Oh, I'm sure I will.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks more palatable. Wow. So today we are talking about a film that I absolutely love. So does Nick. And
so do I.
And so does Tucson. All right.
We're done.
3. Yeah, we don't even need to do this episode. Great. By a director who has had a quite storied career and has had ups and downs, I would say, throughout his career in terms of popularity and notoriety.
Who hasn't?
Yeah, it's pretty much true.
PTA has been pretty much, I think, on an upward trajectory.
I was going to say, even though he's had highs and lows, Martin Scorsese's had a lot of winners over the years.
True.
He's had some periods that were not great.
Quentin Tarantino has largely had a pretty consistent, just as far as people talking about him and people liking him. So really, Toussaint, we just named 3 white dudes who have not had ups and downs, according to our superior film taste.
Jesus.
Compared to everybody else.
It would be white dudes one day. Anyway, continue.
Who all have happened to work for Harvey Weinstein at some point.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
You literally paused to think about that. Like, oh, shit. Just line that one up, huh, buddy? Yeah, it's great. Yeah, okay. Anyway, let's talk about this movie.
So anyways, the Michael Mann film we are going to review is Collateral, which was released in 2004 and stars Tom Cruise and Jamie Foxx, and also features performances by Mark Ruffalo, Jada Pinkett Smith, Peter Berg makes an appearance here, and also we get some nice little performances by Bruce McGill and also Javier Bardem.
Yeah, that's what a fucking cast, right?
It's pretty solid.
It's nuts to go back and watch one of these films from like the early aughts and to see these actors who over a decade later have cemented their careers and their personalities in properties that are just like when they were just bit players in this other vehicle, and now they are like they're leading the charge in their own ways. Like Harvey Bardem.
I mean, yeah, like looking at like Mark Ruffalo, and I mean, I guess this is a pejorative, but he's like playing a wigger in this movie.
Yeah, it's kind of nuts. It's kind of nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, Javier Bardem is just like this, you know.
He's telling stories about Santa Claus and shit.
Yeah, right? Yeah, that's weird. Yeah.
How fucking furious do you think Santa Claus would be?
Yeah.
Love it. So yeah, there's just a lot of really interesting performances to go with what you were saying, Toussaint.
Yeah.
Other than just the Mark Ruffalo and also the Javier Bardem, this is a somewhat early-ish role for Jada Pinkett Smith.
This is when Jada Pinkett Smith was still working, like persistently working. Like what was the last thing that she's been a part of besides Gotham?
Magic Mike XXL.
Oh,
you
yeah.
son of a bitch.
Oh yeah, that's right. But when
She was
did that
great in
come out?
by the way.
2015.
2015?
It's like 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. That was the last big thing?
Oh, have you done anything as great as her in that movie?
She's
in
an
your
actress.
lifetime?
She's a fucking actress. What else has she been working on?
Wow.
Just saying.
She was in The Matrix.
She's a goddess.
Yeah, but that was.
I'm fucking with you.
Yeah.
The last, other than Gotham, the last film she was in was Girls Trip in 2017.
Oh my god, I remember.
Also,
the
she
trailer
died.
For that.
She died in Gotham so that the show could get good. So I wouldn't put Gotham up in her, shall we say?
That's the last thing I remember her like
No,
being
I mean,
attached to as a name.
yeah,
like that was they were marketing the show in part with her in
The
it.
thing about Gotham that's weird that the pilot, she's the best part about the pilot, and then from episode 2 on is like, oh no, like. That's too much of a good thing as far as that's really fucking obnoxious every week. And then sure enough, after one season, they're like, yeah, you're going to die.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway.
And then we haven't even gotten to the main performances here, which are Tom Cruise with his dyed hair and Jamie Foxx, who's delivering a Oscar-nominated performance.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Forgot about that.
Yeah.
Don't forget about Jason Statham.
Yeah,
Huh.
that was interesting. I looked up that cameo. It's not even a cameo. It's just sort of like
He was just not that popular at the time.
Like an inadvertent
he was
nod.
a name.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure he literally took an hour away from doing a transporter filming.
Dude.
Just walked over and played that exact same character because that only is the only character he knows how to play.
I fucked with those transporter movies when I
Yeah,
was
I could see
13
that.
years old and those were coming out.
they're okay.
I could see anybody with
Especially the first one.
any vehicle that Jason Statham is driving being like, I love that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Driving a vehicle. Yeah.
Yeah,
Which is, he was driving a vehicle, and he was also, the head of a franchise. So it was like, that's one way of driving, two ways of driving a vehicle. You know what I mean?
Hey.
Speaking of driving, this film centers around a cab driver who finds himself the hostage of an engaging contract killer as he makes the rounds from hit to hit during one fateful evening in Los Angeles.
Darwin, I Ching, adapt, bitch.
Yeah. Yeah, that was some great script writing with that part.
That wasn't the best. It wasn't the best line, but there were better lines in this film that I enjoyed.
Yeah.
I forgot how silly this movie is. Like, genuinely. Like, I'm a huge fan of it.
You forgot how depressing before the devil knows you're
I did.
You forgot how depressing that was, and you forgot how silly Collateral was.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
if you would have asked me, I would have been like, oh, yeah, it's a very intense, charged movie, which is not that it's not that, but that's like all I can think, whereas I also forget that Tom Cruise.
What is it with this guy?
Yeah.
Why is he shaking his head?
Tell
like
him that you'll shove this cab up his fat ass. Yeah, and I'm gonna shove this yellow cab up your fat ass.
Up his ass. Yeah.
Anyway, not to mention like when they're in the hospital, it's like a buddy comedy, and I mean we'll get into all
Don't you
that.
want to buy her flowers?
She
carried
carried you in her womb for 9 months. Yeah.
Anyway,
He bought you the flowers. They're wonderful flowers.
Don't talk about me like I'm not here, Mom.
Yeah.
Then
What-
is he here?
Yeah.
Yes, he's
What-
right there,
what-
ma'am.
What is he saying? What is he saying? Yeah, like wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So, anyways,
Yeah.
myself and Nick definitely love this film and have talked about our admiration for this film and also just Michael Mann in general for many years now, and I'm sure we've mentioned it before on this podcast.
No.
Numerous times, probably. So, I guess I'll go first.
Mm-hmm.
I am a enormous fan of this film. To me, you okay there?
Yeah, because you were an enormous.
Oh, you thought I was going to turn
Yeah.
into Paul Rudd's Giant Man here.
No, I was just looking. Like there you are.
Yep. There. I'm there.
Yeah.
Good. Perfect.
They're both pointing up and looking up at something. It's just like,
Yeah. We're really not great.
It's okay.
So, this is probably second on the Michael Mann list for me.
Ooh, really?
Yeah, big fan.
After Heat?
Yeah.
Holy shit. Okay.
Yeah. I like a lot of other of his films. I also haven't seen a lot of his earlier films, so I should really do that.
Not even Thief? Have you
I've seen Thief.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
I've seen
I think
Thief.
we all watched it one time.
That sounds right.
One time. Here in the studio.
Yes,
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. Yeah.
And I've seen some of his more recent works, like
Yeah.
the Miami Vice and the last film he did a while ago, which
Black
was
Hat.
called Black Hat.
Love
Yeah,
it.
That was pretty good.
It is.
It wasn't great, but it was pretty good.
Well, the big thing is apparently there's the director's cut, which is actually good and not just Michael Mann, whatever. And it's only been in any form on the channel FX.
What?
Yeah, like literally FX showed the Black Hat director's cut, but it's never been put on a disc. It's never been, it's really weird.
That's
So I'm just waiting for Criterion or somebody to just put it on a fucking disc. I'm not going to TiVo a goddamn Michael Mann director's cut version that has commercials.
Yeah, that would be something.
Yeah.
So this film, I actually really caught on to when I was younger, when it was coming out, because actually randomly from the promotional material, I really enjoyed the trailer, and the trailer randomly ended with one of my favorite songs ever, which is "Man in the Box" by Alice in Chains. And that song is playing while you see Tom Cruise on the back of the subway hanging off the end of it, back before that was a thing, and in every fucking Marvel movie. So it was just an awesome visual to see in a trailer for a film that I, was not a Michael Mann fan at the time, really knew nothing about his history. Obviously, I knew who Tom Cruise was and somewhat who Jamie Foxx was. But so going into this, I had no real expectations when I first saw it, 15 years ago. And I've been a huge fan forever. I mean, I've probably seen this film 7-8 times, something like that. And each time, I really enjoy it just the same as the first time I saw this film. It has a lot of really wonderful moments, and there's just something about this particular film that finds this genuine. I don't know what the best word is for it, but it finds this genuine communication between characters that doesn't feel awkward. And I think some of the dialogue that's in this film definitely could have led to that, and I think it still somewhat does at a couple different points. But at the same time, just the way that the characters interact with each other, and also the fact that this is such a weird film where there is never like more than 3 characters in a room at a time. Like, this is just literally 2 people in a cab for the most part, but every time they go somewhere, it's always just one of the characters going on to talk with these people, or one of the characters going on. So there's this really weird symmetry between this, where there are a bunch of people in this film, but you only really ever get one-on-one conversations between characters, and it's pretty wonderful. It definitely is a fantastic action film, while at the same time definitely a drama. And I really think Tom Cruise is knocking on the door of one of his best performances here.
Yeah, I agree.
You could talk about his earlier works, and he does have good ones that are fantastic. But at the same time, here he is delivering a pretty
distinct character,
insane performance in terms of a person who clearly has a lot going on, but at the same time is very well put together and reserved. So there's just a lot packaged into that bundle, or a lot bundled into that package. Anyways, Tom Cruise really delivers a very strong performance here, and I actually think Jamie Foxx also is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
I just prefer Tom Cruise's performance probably over his.
No, I think that for the fact that when you look at the poster for this film, when you look at the cover for this film, it's Tom Cruise's character Vincent with a gun and the word Collateral, and it's like that's what this film is being marketed as. Like, he outsizes every other personality in this film, really. So,
and this film also has one of my favorite fan theories of all time, and it's actually, for the most part, been proven. I think me and Nick have talked about this before. The idea of Vincent intentionally not shooting, what's his name at the end? Not shooting Jamie Foxx's character.
Okay.
When they're having their final shootout.
So I remember you, when I was rewatching this, because I haven't seen this in 5 years, I was remembering you bringing that up at a past conversation. But watching it this time, I have no idea what that's referring to.
Really?
Yeah. Are you saying that he purposely uncocked his own gun? Like, what moment did he not hit him? Was it in the office when he's shooting at the window?
No. In the very final scene,
Yes.
when they are in the subway, facing each other through the subway doors,
Yeah.
my feeling is that he intentionally does not shoot him.
But his gun was out of ammo.
No.
What?
No.
What? I don't understand. The entire clip falls.
I understand that.
So you're saying he did all that for show?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. Now that I've seen it, I say no. That makes no sense to me. Like,
okay.
Not because, like, no, it can't be. I just mean, like, I just don't get that vibe.
No, it can't be.
I don't know. The last time I watched this, which was about 2 months ago, I always look for little hints that are going to prove my little theory that
he's trying to shoot him throughout the whole movie.
I'm not the only person who said this.
No, I'm not saying you're not, and whatnot, and I'm not saying it makes no sense. I'm just saying having that in my head. I feel like when we had the conversation, so I could only think about the movie abstractly and not really recall the specific moments. I could understand that from a character point of view. But having seen the scene in question, I just don't see it at all acted or
there
shown.
are just a lot of things about it that don't make sense, that don't add up. Like if they're literally facing each other and he is a very accurate person with a gun, why would he not shoot him?
But he does.
No, he does not shoot Jamie Foxx.
Well, I mean, he goes to, and then the gun fucking breaks because I thought he ran out of ammo.
He does after he tries to. He shoots bullets. Yeah,
He shoots bullets.
yeah.
Right.
Well, also too, when I went back and I rewound it last time I watched it, you literally see the gun. The bullets are going straight into the door when he shoots at him. I don't know, man.
I'm so confused because I thought the last thing he did was he just was out of ammo, and that's the only reason why he lost.
No. They're shooting at each other in that final scene.
Right, but they're doing that by way of when they get light, I thought.
I've never read
No, I'm just saying I thought the idea was they're in the dark, they're waiting for the light to hit through the windows, and in that split-second window try, and I agree that, yes, he's a professional shooter, but also that's an unconventional situation, so therefore I feel like it could be understandable as to why you might not get a direct hit.
Okay.
It could be that he hesitated simply because he wanted him to live.
But
then why would he chase him throughout an entire...
Yeah, I have no real answer other than it's never added up to me why he wouldn't have shot him other than for the plot that Jamie Foxx lives. But the more I've thought about it and the more times I've watched the film, it seems to me that the film is tipping its hand a bit that he actually does purposely not shoot him. So if that's my reading of it, it is at best ambiguous. So
if I genuinely didn't believe that Tom Cruise wasn't going to kill him or beat the shit out of him throughout the whole movie, I would maybe buy that. But he does beat the shit out of him at one point.
When?
What do you mean, when? What?
He beats the shit out of him. What do you mean?
He literally punches him in the face, throws him against a cab.
Okay.
Well, I'm just saying, like that.
Okay.
So that's when that was your question.
Yeah.
Okay.
At no point does he ever literally shoot him.
Well, no, then he'd be dead.
Well,
and he wouldn't have a cab driver.
Yes.
I'm just saying, like, if I thought he was just like playing coy in the backseat the whole time, and like,
I personally feel like Vincent's character somewhat has an affinity for Jamie Foxx's character at some point as the evening progresses, and you could easily just say that he's putting on a show just to have him go through the entire night, but time after time when I've watched the film, I've always gotten that vibe that and I think that it's great because what's so good about this film,
I think he had an affinity for the jazz guy that he shoots point blank in the face.
I want to talk about that scene.
But
no, I'm just saying, like, I think that was genuine.
Literally,
I don't think that stops him.
It's literally his job to kill him. It's not his job to kill Jamie Foxx.
It would, because it would get in the way of his job, and he doesn't make just.
I think
it technically gets.
That's why he would kill two muggers.
I think that this is very. To say that it's not part of his job, even though there was that scene between Mark Ruffalo when he was talking with the other, when they were on the scene of the first murder that Vincent committed, they didn't know like what was going on. It's like, yeah, you remember that one case that happened a couple of years ago where there was that taxi driver that drove around, killed 3 people, and then like just offed himself. And I'm just like, yeah, it's like the detective who was on that case, like he never really thought that was true. He thought that there was something else, and I was like, and I feel like that scene obviously is meant to hint at the fact that Vincent has been here before. He's done this before. This is his MO, and this is like you're saying that he didn't need to kill Jamie Foxx's character. Yes, he did, because he has to tie up loose ends.
Yeah, I mean, I think the idea
he was always made out to be the fall guy in that case. Yeah. At least that's how it started out. He was just going to do the same damn thing, and I think I'm in agreement with you. Yeah. But I feel like through even this sort of episode, like, maybe something despite himself, like, changed in wanting him to live. I don't know.
And that's the weird thing about it, is I don't necessarily think that much changed about Tom Cruise's character.
No.
I feel like for whatever reason he has the feeling like he does not want to kill Vincent.
Yeah, he actually faced up with somebody who didn't resign themselves to die, but actually just trying to actually stop him.
Yeah, and also too that literally just didn't have the exact same cynical view in terms of just wanting the money or anything like that. Also, too, really quickly before I hand it off, and again, I absolutely love this movie, so I'll just continuously just throw rose petals its way for the entire episode for the most part. And one of the best parts of Tom Cruise's performance is the extraordinarily awkward time when he's talking about killing his father, and he almost plays it off like he was joking then afterwards, which I thought was fantastic.
Yeah. Liver disease.
Yeah. Yes, but I love that because it feels genuine that he did actually murder his father, but then at the same time, it also feels genuine that he's saying that he, so I think he's giving that character is putting on that great of a performance. And Tom Cruise,
I thought he was just hewing to the idea that his father was a drunkard who was abusive, and he could either have died of alcohol poisoning or he could have just died as an effect of being an alcoholic and being killed by his son.
Yeah, I guess I didn't think of it as that he was telling the truth in plain sight.
No.
I thought it was just him making a joke like, yeah, this is what you think of me, and maybe there has to be a tragic backstory behind it, or maybe he's just a fucking alcoholic.
And the fact that you can pull those separate meanings from that sort of performance, I think, speaks to just how the sort of synergy between the writing and the actual actor, reciting those lines in that sort of context. I think that it works. It works.
Kind of what I'm trying to say.
It works, and it holds up to multiple meanings of what you want to see out of it. And and that's sort of one of the things that I enjoy about this film. Can I sort of take on the?
Yeah, go right ahead, man.
Yeah, I haven't seen this film in a very long time. I mean, I've probably seen it bits and pieces of it on public television, maybe FX, maybe screened it a couple of times, but I've never actually sat down and watched it from start to finish since it first came out in theaters. This was actually one of my dad's favorite movies because he actually drove a taxi when I was 6, and he would always tell me about the crazy stories that he would go through. So he really enjoyed this film.
Nothing like this, right?
Yeah, nothing like this. Yeah, nothing like this. I don't think he would have survived through something like that. But yeah, he was a really big fan of Tom Cruise's character and the whole crazy shooting that he did with the two thugs that tried to steal the briefcase.
That kind of
Oh yeah. That's sort of the weird, crazy CQC, military, pivot shooting that he was doing. Yeah, I was really surprised to come back to this film after so long and to see, at least in my opinion, how well it holds up. It's just, I think what I enjoy about this film is epitomized in one scene, which is probably one of the most talked about scenes. It's such an incidental, serendipitous moment of filmmaking where they're driving around and they come across these two wolves or whatever that trot against that trot over the street, and they're just pausing in front of it and just realizing just how bizarre this entire situation is. They don't say anything, and as soon as they pass, then they sort of drive past it, and you can see the visible change on their faces of they're contemplating what just happened and what did that actually mean. And just it's one of those. It's fascinating to me in the case of the context of the story that this is all just what the whole philosophy of Vincent of what does any of this mean really? This is just one life on a speck in this cosmic dust, just floating around anywhere, and just Vincent could have easily just hopped into another cab at that beginning.
He almost does,
but he doesn't. But he's no, man. It's I can take your fare, and to think that one choice, that one incidental, come on, man, you can get in my cab, would lead to such a course of events that all these things would transpire and that it would bring them to this one juncture that they would just so happen to cross paths with these two wolves in the way that it does. And what does that even mean? Does it mean anything? And it's more of just how strange coincidences can stack up, and how you have to sort of, there's maybe no inherent meaning to that situation other than what how are you changed for that experience, and what are you willing to do after having gone through that experience? Like, what does that mean to you?
Well, and I mean, this film would just not exist, obviously,
Yeah.
if it didn't have the kind of things that happen throughout it.
Yeah.
But going off of what you're saying, Toussaint, I mean, the idea of him parking the cab exactly where the guy falls out at the beginning, like if
that he would
doesn't
pick
happen-
up, that he would pick up the girl and get her card.
Yeah.
Who would be the prime target for Vincent throughout this entire affair. Just the serendipity of all these things just coalescing together is just like, it's I mean, obviously it's just writing. It's just tight writing, but to think like the verisimilitude of this setting of him just being a taxi driver at that time. Yeah, I think that's just really compelling. It's interesting to me. I'm just like, yeah, these are good characters. This is a good story. The action is really good. The music's really good. I did not look at the cast before I saw this. I remember that Jamie Foxx and Tom Cruise were a part of it. But as soon as I saw Mark Ruffalo, I was like, oh, shit. As soon as I saw Jada Pinkett Smith, I was like, oh, shit. And as soon as I saw Javier Bardem, I'm like, holy fucking shit, what are you doing here? And I was just like, man, this is just tweaking me out. Like, I was not prepared for all of these sort of – these aren't cameos. And then you see Jason Statham in this movie. I'm just like, oh my god, I'm freaking the fuck out right now. This is so weird. And that's sort of like that weird serendipity. I know it's like casting, but I just didn't.
Yes, it is.
I just didn't think that you would come across these fucking people and one of us.
They didn't just walk on set.
I know they didn't just walk on set, but it's just like it's one of those things like you're dealing with something that's unexpected. And where do you take that? Do you infer meaning out of that? It's like no, it just so happens these actors were just casted in these roles and they just thought they would be good for these roles, and just like, and the meaning that you take away from that is really anything that you just infer from it on your own, and just like, and that's kind of why I like this movie. Yeah. I like, well, one of my favorite lines that happened early on, which was after Vincent killed the one guy who fell onto the taxi, and they
Ramon.
Ramon, and they put him into the trunk. And what's Jamie Foxx's character's name? Max.
Yep.
Yeah, Max. Max is trying to clean up the seat where his sandwich spilled over and stuff. And he's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm just like, "I have to clean it up. It's gonna leave a stain." It's like, no. It's like, whatever. Lady Macbeth. The light turned green. I'm just like, the fact that he made like an oblique reference to out damn spot is just like, I like that. That was funny. I enjoyed that.
Also, too, the idea of, and again, there's just a lot of script coincidences that happen throughout this film, but the fact that the two police officers who are going to pull them over get taken away because of the murder that just took place.
That was such a fucked up situation, because it's just like he's literally Vincent is literally whispering in Max's ear. It's like, yeah, you're going to have to pop the trunk. It's like, if you pop the trunk, then they're going to end up in it. It's like the devil on your shoulder. It's like, you better not pop that fucking
Which is
trunk.
ironic because actually, if he would have listened to him, I don't think it would have been necessarily death for all. I just think Vincent knows how to manipulate people.
Yeah.
And will just do that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he can't kill a cop or something like that. I'm just saying, is that a situation he could have played it off as like, oh, this is his cat? I don't know, but I'm just saying it.
Yeah.
I'm sure there was something in the works.
Ooh.
But at the same time, the idea of the cops being called away because of that to save them in there, or them being called away to a murder.
It's so serendipitous,
of
right?
Of which the body is in the trunk that they're at.
Exactly. And it's just like all these things just coalescing and you're like pulling it apart. Like, holy fucking shit. It's crazy. I love this movie. It's a great movie.
It's pretty solid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's move on to Nick.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty great movie. I had mentioned to these boys that I had seen this movie for the first time in the drive-in theater with a double feature of White Chicks and this movie.
Clearly we know which was the better.
White Chicks.
Excuse me, gentlemen. We're having a showing of White Chicks in the parlor.
Oh, boy, yeah.
White Chicks.
And I remember watching Collateral because I was excited that I was only like 13 and my parents were going to stay for the second movie. So, I mean, I got to watch it. And I remember loving it when I was that young. And I hadn't really revisited it for at least a decade after that.
Right. This is just one of those films.
Yeah, so it's been about 5 years ago I rewatched it. And I, like you two, so I'm like, wow, that really holds up. And so now I get to rewatch it 5 years later for this, and once again, I found myself very engaged with it. I do think that it didn't quite hold up as much this third time, which is to say that I pretty much feel like I'm on rock solid foundation as to not going to go up or down anymore, because some of it did slightly feel sillier to me than I remembered. Some of the lines where I felt like sometimes the comedy was funny and sometimes it was trying, and I think the first 30 minutes of this movie is impeccable. I genuinely think, from the opening scene to probably when the cops show up to pull them over, like from that set piece on, I feel like the movie does start to get a little meandering in a way that is very Mann-esque.
What is it with this guy?
Yeah, but that's the thing. There were some scenes like that with the Lenny or whatever his name was. I don't know, the CB.
Lenny!
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, the dispatcher cab guy where, he's got Vincent will make Max a better man by, making him stand, not literally, but, doing that whole kind of whatever. Some of those bits just kind of felt boring, and, I don't think Vincent would care that much. I would buy him going to his mother's hospital because he gives a reason for that. He's got to not break routine and things like that. But then every once in a while, things like that, it would just kind of be whatever. Trying to think. There was a few choices here. Okay, one thing I will admit I didn't like, and then I'll probably go right back to things I liked. And the one thing that's really holding me back from this whole ambiguous ending thing is that the last 15 minutes of this movie, in my opinion, Vincent becomes the Terminator. Before that point, I thought he was just really good at his job, but there's a literal music cue when he's riding on the edge of the subway where he looks like he's supposed to be a fucking machine and not in the, oh wow, he's a machine of a man. Genuinely, he is doing things that are just beyond comprehensible, and just in the way he's able to.
He is Joe Biden where there's genitals in the
Yeah.
area.
And it just, because before that point, the movie is, I would say, pretty downright, I wouldn't say realistic, but certainly grounded. Even the gunfire is always super loud, although that always did throw me this time. Where
That's a mannerism.
Yeah, you. And things like that, where it's these things are messy, they're whatever, but the whole subway thing, I'm like, this feels like a villain was able to live much more than they were supposed to, and then do extremely weirdly mechanized things past that point. But some things I liked, I very much enjoy the casting here as well. I think that's one of Michael Mann's greatest assets. It's just putting people in a blender and letting them just fucking, I don't know, bounce off of each other. And I think in general, the two performances here from Cruise and Fox are pretty good. I think there were times when Jamie Foxx was a little too dorky. There was a moment when he was talking to the jazz musician, which is a scene I want to get to right now after this thing I say, where when he was quizzing him before he's going to fucking shoot him in the face, and he asked that question, Jamie Foxx just goes, music school. He went to music school, right? And I'm just like, you're not mentally challenged. I get that you're stressed about this.
He's just stressed because you don't want to see another guy get killed.
I'm not saying that doesn't make sense, but here's the thing. If I'm sitting between two people who know jazz and I know nothing about jazz, and I've said that in character, I don't think I would have anything to offer more than the person who apparently knows everything about Miles Davis. So it just, I don't know.
I don't find it as grating. He's just in a moment of desperation where he really just doesn't want to see this guy get killed, and
I feel like if his best shot is to shut up and let the guy
honestly
say.
In
fact, if we trace it, maybe he's the reason why he died, because he says music school, so then the guy lists what music school he went to.
No. Well, actually, that's
I'm
actually
kinda
a good
buying
point.
that.
That's
Yeah.
actually kind of a good point.
Maybe if
yeah.
he would have shut up,
Maybe if he just
maybe he
shut-
could have actually thought about the riddle of the question.
Yeah, the riddle of the riddle of the Sphinx.
Yeah, so-
riddle of the Sphinx.
So let's talk about that scene. Those are my general thoughts in the sense. I pretty much like it. I think the performances are pretty much great. I think the first half hour it never quite reaches, but afterwards. But I very much enjoy it all the way up until like the last 20 minutes where I could actually take it. Like I like everything in the office building, but once they're able to just run across an entire city and have very public shootouts while Tom Cruise just fucking Doc Ocks that subway, I just kind of whatever.
I thought.
But
The jazz player,
jazz
even,
scene.
the jazz player, even answering the question was stupid. It was like he knows that he's not going to live out of that situation,
yeah,
right?
but here's the thing, and I would agree with that. But the way it's presented is that actor is given a performance in which it's suggested that his character thinks he's given the right answer.
Right? Yeah.
And so the idea that this white man who hasn't played with Miles Davis, I'm just saying, like they just established that not only does his character says he knows everything about Miles Davis, but he also has some credentials to just prove that he's been in this culture. And
He's related
and
to
so he
Ryan
would,
Reynolds from La La Land.
Well, that's what I was thinking of, to be honest. And
He
the fact
saved
that he would
jazz.
give the most Wikipedia answer ever, but it's the white guy who's like, no, man, he studied under the bird.
yeah.
And it's like, so a black guy who loves jazz and has met Miles Davis
doesn't
would-
know as much about it as the white guy.
And it's just really fucking stupid. And I'm not saying he wouldn't have shot him if he got it right, but I think that would have been a more interesting scene. Like, he says it, and then he just shoots
Technically-
him, and then he just says, wait, I thought, wasn't that right? Yeah,
okay.
he got it right.
This is really random and has nothing to do with anything. But
Continue.
I've creepily always felt like the way that Tom Cruise sounds when he asks the waitress to have him come over to see with him sounds like he just had an orgasm. Oh, send him over. He's terrific. Just
He's very into jazz. It's all that jazz flute.
oh god, nice from the same era too.
Yeah, it was like the
Anchorman.
same year.
Yeah, pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that scene's interesting only because I mean there's a lot happening there. I mean there's a lot happening in every scene of this film, but in terms of the idea of no one else being in the club, apparently everyone just left when they started talking.
Yeah, that was weird.
And apparently, here's the other thing that's weird. And again, I pretty much love this movie.
Yeah,
and
you
this
can
is-
just murder someone in the middle of
Well-
a pretty public establishment.
First of all, they have time to get in there, have a drink while they are performing, wait for everyone to leave, and then meet with them. Yet he's on this super tight schedule. Okay, it's like I just kind of go with it, but
No, but I agree.
yeah.
I do think this movie does what it wants to at every given turn.
Yeah.
Without regard for any. And I do personally think that this rewatch kind of grated on me a little bit, but that doesn't mean that I don't enjoy each individual scene.
He told Max when his flight is supposed to leave the next day, so I was just like...
Yeah. And just talk about another writerly serendipitous moment. That's really this entire movie. But the fact that he tells that silly little LA, myth about the man who rides a subway. Oh, thank God they ran to a subway so that he could chuckle about it.
Yeah.
We already talked a little bit about Javier Bardem in this film, but I do actually genuinely love that scene just because he sends him in being like, well, you're going to go fucking get the list again. Nope, you're going to go get the list. And I do, again, everything comes back to what it's just for in the plot-wise, but the idea of him asking these really stupid questions and then that ends up being kind of what he goes to when he's trying to get the information out of him that he needs.
He has to improv a sort of
Adapt.
a demeanor and an affect of a hitman, of what he thinks Vincent would say in that sort of situation, or what his version of Vincent would say in that situation, so that he can convincingly like put,
Convincingly.
that's why I tried to correct.
You shouldn't.
Yeah, leave us there.
basically put that across to Javier Bardem's character so that he can actually get the list.
Along with, first of all, here's one thing where he fails. Along with the silly timeline in the Jazz Club, maybe he just doesn't know this, but Hitman aren't really offering discounts. So
he's just, it's not really a matter of like offering discounts. It's more of like a way of just like, you know what? Fuck Vincent for putting me in here to do this stuff. Like if I'm gonna put my ass through on the line, like I'm just gonna undercut him just a little bit.
I mean, that's cool, but
I know it doesn't. I know it doesn't make. He doesn't. I know that it doesn't make sense. But he's really just.
He's making it more obvious for Javier Bardem.
I know, but he's not thinking about Javier Bardem's character or he's thinking about Vincent. He thinks that he's in the clear and that he thinks is like, you know what? After the shit that I've been through, he's gonna get paid less for this shit. Fuck him.
He's not getting paid anything. They're all dead.
Yeah, I know.
One thing I was gonna say is I don't know if this is one sign that one element that did not age well for me, or maybe it's not even an aging thing, but maybe I just whatever. But I was shocked when I rewatched this today or yesterday, and Vincent offered him $600. Like, if I would have thought back on this movie, I thought it would have been at least $1,000. But I don't know why, but for some weird reason that felt like, nah, I'm good. 600.
Well, he doesn't know that he's a murderer yet.
No, I know, but I just meant, I don't know, to go out of your
way. For a whole
way.
night? To just drive him for $600?
I'm not saying I don't get it.
That's probably
I'm just
double
saying,
what he was going to get paid.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you can't make it too much money or else it's going to be really suspicious.
Yes, drive me around for $10,000.
What is this?
No, I didn't think it was going to be that.
No,
I just thought it would have been $1,000.
If he had known he was a murderer, then yes, I would be with you. That
True.
Why was it only $600?
Yeah.
I just don't know.
If someone offered me a day's pay. It was just over a day's pay.
I'm sure $600 is well over a day's pay for a Los Angeles cab driver.
He literally asked him what he made, and he said about $450.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that's what I'm trying to say. All he's getting is a $150 bonus.
That might do it.
And I'm not saying that wouldn't do it, but I'm just saying, like, because the movie goes out of its way to say what the financials are here.
He is a smart, ahead of his time business owner. Like, you have got to pinch those pennies where you can.
Well, but he wasn't going to do it, but somehow then he just decided, yeah, okay, I guess the extra 150 is... it was just one of those things where I just thought it would have been $1,000, which would have been suspicious, but I just thought would have been like, okay, the wealthy whatever, and therefore... It was just something so random about the $600, I'll give you $300 right now. It's like, whoa! $300?!
Okay.
That's a Bubble Boy reference.
Oh.
No, actually, it should be $500 if it was.
Yeah, red light packs. Anything else anyone wants to discuss? Because it seems like we're not really discussing much here.
It's a simple movie.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, like, as far as I don't think it's like a slight against the film itself. As far as what it, I just think it's a good movie to talk about in general because people may have forgotten that it's as good as you remember, or it's better than you remember, or whatnot. I enjoy quite a lot of things in this film. I'll say one thing: Michael Mann is, for being known for his crime dramas and whatnot, and that kind of machismo, masculinity depiction and whatnot. I keep forgetting that he is like the master of meet cutes because. Between the cab ride between Jada Pinkett Smith and Jamie Foxx in this movie, which I think is so fucking adorable, and the diner scene in Thief, where James Caan goes on his first date with his beau in that movie.
Yeah, and he shows her that weird fucked up picture he made.
Yeah, but that's a 10-minute unbroken scene where like they actually hash out who they are, what they want in life.
Even the diner scene.
And I was actually going to say the diner scene... Wait, are you going in the same direction that I'm going?
Well, I was going.
Are you going to say with Amy Brenneman?
Yeah.
Oh, that is pretty adorable. But actually, I was going to go with the full Monty and say that the diner scene between Al Pacino and Robert De Niro is also fucking adorable. And it's basically a meet cute as well, just one where they've already known each other for a little while. They just want to do the fucking.
Well put.
Well, they want to feel the heat.
Sure.
So yeah, I thought that was adorable.
Good.
That's really cute.
All right, well, I'm going to go ahead with my final rating. I am a huge fan of this film, and even though we haven't really went on an excessively long discussion about it, I still think this is an absolute wonderful film. I will not put it in the masterpiece category, but I still give this a 4.5 out of 5, as I think it is a very well done film by Michael Mann, and also nails a lot of the elements that I like about the other films that he's made that I enjoy, like Thief and even Public Enemies. This really has a lot of the same elements happening, while at the same time having a pretty solid story throughout, even though if there are some silly, unique intricacies here. So overall, it's a 4.5 out of 5 for me for Collateral.
Yeah. I'm going to have to give it a 3.5 out of 5. I think that it's a competently made film. I really enjoy it. I don't think it's extraordinary, but I would definitely recommend it just because I was surprised to come back to this film after so many years and to enjoy it as much as I did, and to take even more from it now in the intervening time that I've been able to just like have this like sit in the back of my mind. Yeah. It's a wonderful film. I give it a 3.5 out of 5.
Maybe surprisingly, based on how I've talked about it on the podcast, but I give this a 4 out of 5.
Yeah.
I guess the way I talk about it sometimes is because I always think of it as Lesser Man, because I just like his.
I just thought it was funny with
Lesser Man.
Yeah, I thought it was a lesser man.
I did, yeah. Because I adore Michael Mann and everything he does, and I just think that even when he's not at the top of his game, he's at the top of whatever the hell he's doing genre-wise. And so I think this is no exception. The one thing I forgot, and I feel like we all kind of glossed over this, not to say that none of us noticed it, but we didn't really talk about it, but the use of digital video in this film is fantastic. He's very famously past the antiquated fetishization of celluloid, which obviously I've been on this podcast saying how much I love that, but I don't want a filmmaker to do it just for the sake of it. And Michael Mann's a great example of, like, your aesthetic is your own, and it's not made by the the tangible product that you shot your movie with. And this is no exception, because Collateral is one of his most gorgeous films ever made. And I don't think the way he shoots video always works for people, because he wants it to kind of be this almost hi-fi aesthetic that is very garish and unpristine, because it's high definition, and yet it's also not shot with like the top-of-the-line crystal clear cameras, and it's more of what we think of when we think of like the days of the burgeoning of when home video cameras were becoming like actually good, and not just like but like when Sony and whatnot were coming out with those like high DV, that kind of shit.
It was after you were previously you were just happy that you had something.
Yeah, but now you could go to the counter and see what camera was good for you, because it was like when TVs became affordable and you could actually pick one out and whatnot. And that was like the early 2000s, around when this was made, and he just always does extraordinary things with it.
The other thing regarding that is that obviously, for the most part, I mean, unless he's doing something that's like a period piece, kind of like Public Enemies, like he is pretty much going to do downtown Los Angeles as his backdrop.
Yeah,
So
and that's his baby.
And that the nighttime fits into that sort of unrendered looking sky in the background of this kind of, not fog necessarily, but this just kind of almost like a Blade Runner sky
it's more
behind
smog.
it.
Like it's not this like poetic thing. It's just this cityscape that somehow is still able to retain its beauty through a hint of man-made.
Jesus.
Man-made. Oh no, I already said that. Emissions that are so prevalent in modern society, and especially urban civilizations. What's up, Toussaint?
Nothing.
Cool. So, 4 stars from me.
Great. Great. If you out there have any thoughts on Nick's voices, or also the
Keep
film,
them to yourself.
film Collateral, or any thoughts about the ending, and if you agree or disagree with myself or Nick, or think that my theories are all really stupid, which is very much in your rights.
You know what? That's a common theme here on Film Tank, is you bringing up a theory, and then me just saying, fuck no.
Yeah.
Not because you're
I've
wrong or
had
whatever.
quite I've had quite a few over the years that are pretty stupid.
Okay.
I've had a couple that are good,
Yeah.
but for the most
This
part,
is definitely in the acceptable one.
There was that
you know.
one time you floated the whole theory about Agent Smith being the one, but I think you really just did that to fuck with me and sort of a lead-in for me to
no,
like
that
sort of
was
like tee that up.
totally me just poking at the bear.
Oh, you totally were. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's okay.
I don't actually believe in that one.
Yeah, it's a fucking stupid theory.
No.
Well, I mean, what if the Joker, though, is the hero of the Batman franchise?
Oh my god, I've never thought of that before.
But at
oh
least
my
Todd
god.
Phillips has, and he's ready to show us.
Oh my god, you mean, oh, wait a minute. But what if there's a difference between a hero and a protagonist? Oh my god, I didn't pay attention in English class.
Not all heroes wear capes, Tucson.
Speaking of, really quick, Joker, or the Joker, the character, I listened to a very old episode of our old podcast, and I
Were
totally...
we talking about Cesar Romero and his painted mustache?
No.
Ugh.
No, but I totally forgot that we used to have an intro with film clips.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't forget, but, like, I was like, oh, yeah, and then...
Yeah, we used to have that until one time you told me that you were hearing from people that they don't understand what's happening in our intro.
Which I think is fair.
I actually, the more I've thought about it,
Yeah, it was just one of those things.
Originally,
I feel like
it
if we ever
sounded
did it
creepy.
again, like, it just needs to be shorter.
no, I think it would if it like had dialogue that made sense in between the
Yeah.
narration, it would really. But yeah, it was just clips.
Yeah,
Of films.
which, you know what? That's fun.
Yeah,
It's a fun little relic.
yeah, it is. It's probably on what our like first like 35, 40
yeah.
episodes.
I think I was listening to 40-something.
Okay.
Yeah, anyway.
The first, I can actually tell you, the first episode with the new intro that we've had for years was the Force Awakens episode.
Oh, okay.
I do remember that pretty clearly.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
That actually makes sense.
So, anyone out there who has any thoughts on this, or again, my theory and other people's theory about Tom Cruise and his shooting at the end, send them on to us at filmtankshow@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. If you can't put an email together, you just want to find us on Facebook or Twitter, or even sometimes Instagram. Take a look at Film Tank Show. And in terms of finding our episodes, I don't know how you were listening to this particular episode, but we always have them for you at filmtankshow.com. And also, too, you can find them on either iTunes or Stitcher. And also, too, it would be awesome if you could either rate or even give us a review on one of those services, because it actually does really help in terms of findability for podcasts.
Let us know
Absolutely.
what you'd like to hear from us. Let us know how we could improve. Let us know what you want us to keep on doing, because really, as much as we love doing this, we're also doing it for you, too.
There's just a million reviews on it, and all of them just talk about how much they love Toussaint.
No, they don't.
What?
No.
Tui.
Oh, come on.
No.
Two.
No. I would say if I was sort of spitballing, I would say that Nick would be the most popular of this podcast, because you say some anarchic, weird ass shit,
Oh, boy.
and then followed by Alex.
Don't tell me that.
No,
It's true. I just say don't say it out loud.
Yeah.
I last week, and I don't have, and even though I've improved my vocabulary and also just in terms of my film palette over the years, I do still somewhat envy both of you because of the way you're able to talk about films, and somewhat don't always fall into the exact same boat. So really enjoyed, there was like a good 10 to 15 minutes where you guys were just going back and forth on our episode on us, and I really enjoyed that. So.
Yeah.
That was a fun episode.
It was.
I
It was a
agree.
good episode. If you haven't listened to that episode, you should listen to that one.
Should.
Yeah. It's the one that's probably right up before this one.
And it is the one, just like Hugo Weaving.
Oh, you know what I just remembered too? Like that was the episode where I wouldn't say, yeah.
I think it took like 14 seconds.
No, because I was focusing on what Nick said, and then I realized, wait a minute. Yeah.
No, but I think specifically too. I just remember during your final ratings, we went off on a tangent because I would say almost derailed, but somehow was able to keep it onto a actual train of thought, and then we had like interesting conversation nested within conversation.
Yeah.
That was a good episode.
Yeah,
I would agree.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
And Sam was here, so we get to do the door knocking thing.
Yeah, I love that.
Never gets old.
Nope.
I think that's why the listeners listen to this podcast is for Tucson's Foley effects.
Yeah, to see who our guest is going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So on our next episode, I'm going to make an attempt to see if we can have a guest join us, which is our former co-host Kenny. We'll see. We'll see. I'm gonna make a try for it. If anything, I'm gonna try to get his review on it because I know he is really looking forward to this episode we're going to do. Well, specifically the film we're going to do an episode on next, which is the remake of a film that previously came out, but also a continuation of a classic Stephen King novel, which is Pet Sematary. This film stars two super underrated performers, in my opinion, which are Jason Clarke and also John Lithgow, who I'm a huge fan of.
Actually, I would say 3 underrated because also Amy Simons is fucking fantastic when she's in something.
Yeah, first of all,
the trailers are not even really.
I was going to say, I don't even really remember that she's in this.
But she is in it, and if it's anything like the book and the original story, then she'll be an important character.
I will say, I know very little about the actual story. However, I do feel like this has, and first of all, this looks like the kind of horror film that I would actually like. And secondly, though, I feel like this is great because this is horror that involves children. But at the same time, they are not the center. They're not the central character in it.
No.
And I think that's pretty fantastic that you can have that in the background while still having adult actors performing throughout the actions. I haven't.
I was going to say you haven't seen it, so I will say they're more important than the trailers would suggest. If it's anything like what the mythos usually is. I will be curious to know if in 2019, there's no way they can't do it because the story doesn't make sense, but how they tackle the centerpiece event that has to happen involving a child because it's just a horrific thing, and if they actually show it, not necessarily have to go all in on Lars von Trier fucking eat it whatever but it better not just be characters watching something happen and going oh boy and then cut to the next scene and it's over. Anyway, because the 80s movie, wow, that was a made for TV movie, so literally there's no blood or whatever. You feel that scene happening, so anyway.
I will find out what that is when I see the film, and we will talk about it coming up on episode 188. So, from Tucson Egan, Nick Cheney, and myself, Alex Diekman, as always, thank you very much for listening to us here at Film Tank, and we can't wait to catch up with you next time.